Hi there, welcome back to the playlist, or welcome to the playlist if you're just joining. In this section, we're going to be talking about knowing yourself, knowing what you're good at, what you're particularly interested in, why that's important. One of the common questions we get from international students is, what job sectors should I be going for? What jobs should I be looking at that are maybe in demand or pay the most? And in the UK, at least, that's not how it works. The way it works in the UK is you think about what you're good at, what skills you have, or maybe what skills you want to develop in order to get where you want to go. The reason is, in applications and in interviews especially, you're often asked, why do you want to work here? Why do you want to work for us? That's the first question you get asked more often than not. So having an answer for that and using that to then think about what it is you want to do is actually quite important for all students in the UK. Now, there are lots of tools and resources, you'll see a few on screen, that you can use to help you figure this out. They all more or less do the same thing, and what they do is ask you quite a lot of questions. Things that are quite big. What do you want in life? What do you dislike doing? What do you like doing? What maybe are your values? And it can be useful to do some of these exercises to figure that out for yourself, because it's not always that obvious. On top of that, it can really help to take a really good look at your own skill set, look at yourself and think, what am I good at? Where am I average? Where are my skills gaps? What am I not able to do? What am I not confident in doing? Having that idea can then give you a plan of, okay, this is what I'm good at. This is where I need to improve. What can I do over the next year, 3 years, however long you have at university, to get good at these things, to then help me get to where I want to be. And that where I want to be is quite important as well. Figuring out what a good graduate job, which is what we talk about at university, looks like to you. That is going to look very different depending on who you are, what you're interested in, and figuring that out can be really helpful to decide your overall career direction. On the screen, I've got a little exercise, dead simple. You rank yourself in terms of how things are, in terms of importance. How important is variety in a job? How important is money in a job? Travel, location? What is it that is going to make a good graduate job for you? And you can see once you've filled this out that it will look different for you than anyone else. And that will give you some idea of, okay, I want my graduate job, whatever that happens to be, to have these key things, and I'm not really that bothered about the other ones. I'm not that bothered about location, for example, but I am bothered about the money or the variety or being able to travel. Once you've got that overall direction, it can be useful to think about what your actual options are. Broadly speaking, when we talk about graduate options, once they've finished their degree with us, it could be working full-time or part-time potentially. It could be in some other form of employment, but it could also be in further study. And having that idea of, once you are finished, where do you want to be? Do you want to go into a full-time job? Or do you want to maybe study further, whether it's a master's if you're an undergrad or PhD or whatever that might be? Having that idea, and that might be allied to your overall career goal. If you've identified that graduate job that you really want, maybe that does require some further study, or maybe you can just go straight into it, and that will give you that idea of what it is you want to do once you finish. But it's also important to realise that your options in terms of what you actually can do might be broader than you think. So I'm just going to finish with this little bit of a thought experiment. This is an actual student that we had a couple of years ago. They graduated with a 2-1 in English literature, and once they graduated, ended up working for Apple. And what I want you to do is have a think about what her actual job is. So think about it. She's an English literature graduate. She's working for Apple. What do you think she's doing? I've got some options on the screen, and it could be any one of these things. It could be anything from product design engineer all the way through to copywriter, learning and development manager. Have a think. Pause the video for 20 seconds or so. What do you think she's actually doing? Now, this is quite hard, thinking of things straight off the top of your head, so I'm going to narrow it down a little bit. It's one of these four. So product design engineer, business development manager, marketing executive, or human resources associate. What do you think she is doing? Now, if you guessed marketing executive, well done. You got it right. It kind of fits. She got a 2-1 in English literature. That's writing skill, ability with language. Marketing, there's a synergy there. It's a little bit of a trick question though, because in reality, that graduate could be doing any of those jobs. Most employers, especially the bigger ones, will take you in lots of different roles, regardless of what your degree is in. There are some exceptions. You can't do medicine, for example, without a medicine degree. You can't become a doctor without that. But broadly speaking, you could do any number of those jobs. And if we just go back to those jobs for a second, you might think, well, okay, they could be a copywriter with that English literature degree, they could be a marketing exec, public relations, maybe. But you might sit there and think, well, how are they going to be a systems analyst or a market data analyst with the skills they've got from that English literature degree? But what we work on in the UK is something called transferable skills. All of these careers are going to need very similar skill sets in a lot of ways, whether that's analysing data in large subsets or communication skills, teamwork, and they can get those skills from essentially any degree, but also the things they do around their degree. So if we take the product design engineer that I mentioned a few times, maybe they were part of a society, or maybe they have an interest or a hobby outside of their degree, which lends itself to giving you the skills to be a product design engineer that they then put in their application, that they then talked about at interview. So your degree is very much your starting point. It's the other things that you might be doing at university or outside of it that could also help you figure out what you want to do and get there. So your degree is important, obviously, but it's everything else as well that will put you over the parapet. And it might also help you decide what it is you want, what kind of job you're interested in. So just to finish off with this idea, don't think that your degree dictates what you then go on and do. You might do something directly related to your degree, but you might then do something that is completely unrelated, and that is also fine. And thinking about this process in that slightly different way can help you figure out what it is you want to do. Maybe think about what you're good at and how you can then apply that to a different role and how it is you can get there. So that's the end of this section of the playlist. In the next section coming up, we'll be talking about how to actually find jobs in the UK, the tools, the resources that you can use to basically get the most out of your job search. As always, if you could like and subscribe to the channel, that helps us grow the channel and reach more students. Always grateful for that, and I'll see you in the next video.